Recently we went up to the Jura Mountains because we had a lead on some antique fast-hitting gear, including a 1920s lapidary bench that I wanted to get and restore to turn into a modern lapidary table for my modern machine. So here we are in St. Claude meeting with a guy who saw one of my flyers, and we're getting all of the stuff that used to belong to his cousin who was a gem cutter. We just barely got everything to fit back here, but it's awesome. So we got the table back home, and you can see it doesn't look so great. It's dirty. It's got this weird fake wood vinyl on top of it. The color is not right. These tables are meant to be the original wood, just stained or varnished, so I'm going to try and take it back to its original state. First thing I need to do is take off this vinyl stuff, try to clean it as much as I can, and then start to take off all that metal hardware because that's going to get in the way of my refinishing project. So here's our base state. We're down to just wood. All the metal's been removed, all the hardware's been removed, and it's time to get to work. But first things first, I wanted to see how did it look. Maybe I would keep it in this painted state, but once I saw it, I realized the potential was there, but it's just not beautiful right now. So let's get to work. So the first step is removing all the paint. Now, I've never done anything like this before. I've never refinished a piece of furniture, so I watched a bunch of YouTube videos, got a bunch of tips, and then I went to the hardware store in France where all of the products are completely different than what I saw in the YouTube videos. So I did my best to take the paint off while also being careful, considering that this is probably 100-plus-year-old paint and the white underlayer possibly could have lead in it. So I didn't want any dust or any debris in my apartment. So I wore a mask, put down a drop cloth, and wore gloves. I went through 3 coats of this stripper, which is essentially the entire can, having to wait an hour each time I put it on so that I could let the stripper get down into the paint and get it off. And even then, I didn't get all of it off. I didn't even attempt to do the legs. I'm just working on the top here. I have another idea for what we're going to do with the legs later. So here we are with all the paint stripped off, and you can see there's still a lot of paint on there in the nooks and the crannies. So now it's time to go to phase 2 and see if I can use sanding to get all of the rest of the paint off. So first I did a hand sanding of 80 grit, and I realized that hand sanding is really hard and takes a really long time. And then Victoria reminded me that, oh wait, we have a power sander. So I went out and got the right grits for the power sander, but not before giving it a second trial. I wanted to see how does it look with the wood, and yeah, it's a lot better. So I went through a couple of hours of power sanding. In the process, I broke the vacuum, but I did get a ton of the paint off, a ton of the old debris off, a ton of the old varnish and patina off, and now it's time to get into the cracks and really make it look nice by getting all of the stuff out of the tiny little holes. Now, I didn't want to sand and sand and sand because I didn't want this to look like it was a brand new piece of wood. I want to see the old patina. I want to see the old marks and the results of 100 years of gem cutting, but I don't want all the paint in all the cracks. So, spending a little time, and it looks a lot better. I filled in the holes with a slightly too dark wood filler, but that's okay because now it's time to stain it. I wanted to give it a little bit of a warmer look than what was already there. This matches some of the French mechanical components that would go on this bench. It also matches some of the other woodwork in our house. Now, I didn't want to sand off all the paint from the legs, so Victoria gave me the good idea of just painting it black. So here it is with the first coat of paint and the staining without anything else. Now, it looks a little red right now, but once I apply this shellac stuff, it helps spread the color out a little bit and saturates it a little bit more into the wood and just evens it out a little bit, makes the whole thing look a little bit deeper and darker. That's getting a little bit closer to what I envisioned, but we're not done yet. The final thing that I'm doing is giving it a bunch of coats of wax. This is going to help waterproof it and keep the shellac away from any alcohol that I might accidentally spill on here from my gem cutting work, and also just give it a smooth, matte, nice feeling on the surface. So this takes me another hour or so, and here you can see the final texture Lots of original holes, lots of age and history and patina that I've now protected and encapsulated under this shellac and the wax. So here we started out. Took off the paint and now painted and stained it. What a transformation that makes. And now for the final trial, which is my setup that I will use with this bench. So I'll start to use my French jam peg machine, which is from the 2020s, on this antique gem cutting bench, which is from the 1920s. Thanks to all my Patreon subscribers for the support that makes this channel possible. And thank you for going on this journey with me right here on the Gem Cutter's Craft. This has been Justin K. Prim. See you next time.